Hello everyone. Welcome to another session. My name is Burhan and I will be talking about what are we missing in web applications. So before going further, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Mirza Burhan Baig and I'm a OSCP certified along with some other credentials, EWPTX and ECPPT, etc. So my main core motive and my main core research area nowadays is red teaming, and I'm interested in threat hunting, and web application is my core. So I'm working in web application and mobile application penetration testing field for around 7 to 8 years now. But I'm more into now red teaming and threat hunting kind of things. So I started my career as a bug bounty hunter back in 2012 and 13. So acknowledged by Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, and these are the few companies that are the top notch. There are a lot of lists that I am already listed in. So bug bounty hunting, a hacker's one, you are already aware of that, right? So you know the potential of the bug bounty hunting. I've been working with many companies as a vendor, the third party consultants as well. So work for each and every what we can say sectors or the business units, financial, health, business, energy, utilities, and the government sector. So I'm more into the third party and the vendor side. So I got a chance to work with different companies on the different level with the executives and to the layman's as well. So mainly, I've been working with the financial industries, so the banks, the insurance companies, and there are a lot of things going on in the market. So now, today's my topic for this presentation is related to some financial and the banking application. So moving forward, I would like to just display the major change and what are the current roles and what are the current critical vulnerabilities in the web application nowadays. There's a change. We will talk about the change, right? But the major change. This is the OWASP top 10. I'm sure most of you guys are aware of this. What is the OWASP top 10? So in the OWASP top 10, we have a baseline, we have a framework to match and to compare and to test the vulnerabilities and mark them, or we rate them as well. We calculate the CVS as a score as well. So we do a lot of things with this benchmark or the baseline, what we consider reporting or the checklist. So in 2017 and previous prior to that, we are using OAS for a long time. So we are talking about the 2017 checklist. The injection was on the top, number one, then broken authentication, sensitive data, XML entity injections, XSS. These are all listed according to their criticality, right? But in 2021, 2021, what we call it now, we have a revised list of the vulnerability criticalities, right? So now if we just map it and we compare it where it was and now it is on the top of the list, the broken access control things. Then the injection were moved to number third, and we have SSRF as well. We have a lot of things introduced in this new checklist, vast checklist. So this is the current checklist. If you download that from the OWASP website, you'll find a lot of things, a lot of checks going on in the new one. So my main question is change. Why? Why there is need of a change for a change? Why? Why we change? So this is a human nature, and this is connected to everything. Everything evolves. So how we are protecting our web applications back in the days, now we have to protect our web applications in different manner and with a different methodology, right? So we cannot protect the web application as we were doing previously. So we have to obtain, we have to change, we have to introduce new methods and new techniques to break and secure it once again. So that's why we need change in everything. That's why the OWASP top 10 was changed previously as well. So static and dynamic scanners. As most of the people are aware that we will be talking about the scanners, manual assessments, and all the other things. But to rest assured, static and dynamic scanners work on a very different pace, right? Most of you guys know that. But the vulnerability and the issue that I will be discussing in the further slides is kind of a vulnerability that no scanner can detect without the human interaction. You do the static testing, you do the source code reviews, you use the front end, what we can say, test the web application from the front end with the Acunetics, NetSparker, and many other scanners that are available in the market. I'm talking about the commercial scanners as well. The specific kind of vulnerability that cannot be detected without the human intervention is coming in the further slides. So, uh, just to be on the safe side, I would like to just introduce an example to you guys that how injections are protected, focusing on the skill injection, how they are protected previously and now how they are changing in the factors. So, nowadays the frameworks and all the other things are very smart. They protect the web application or the any kind of application. There are built-in security libraries built in their plugins. They have the multiple things that are predefined. If we talk about the .NET, we have multiple security libraries in the cryptography, in the injection, input validations, and what's on whatnot. So, talking about different vulnerabilities, we have frameworks, we have libraries, we have multiple other things that are protecting the web application from the front end and the back end as well. If you follow these secure coding programs, or if you are following secure coding techniques, so you will be seeing multiple things that you are missing in the source code of the web application previously, but now you are putting the validations as you like it, and you are making the web application or the any kind of application much securer. So this is just an example of the SQL injection. I'm talking about multiple other things as well. So now, if you move forward to other vulnerabilities, this is the case for the other vulnerabilities as well. We have multiple things to protect them, but there's one thing that cannot be protected until and unless you put a checklist or the sign on that thing. That is a business logic flaw. So now, uh, we are talking about the business logic flaws. What are the business logic flaws? How they are arise? How we can achieve it? How we can hack it? And how we can protect it? So, what are the business logic flaws? I'm sure most of you guys are very well aware of how business logic flaws are arise. So, what is the business logic flaw? A very simple definition in the scheme. There are step A, B, C. If you follow A, the door will be open B. Then there's a door C. It will be open after you open the door B. So you have to follow the sequence A, B, C. But you directly jump from A to C. That's a business logic flaw, that you are not allowed to access C without accessing B. But if you are accessing C directly from the A, that is a business logic flaw. So breaking any kind of logic, breaking any kind of logic, you are obtaining business logic flaw, right? So what are the business logic flaws, vulnerabilities? Basically, might be you are losing your data. You might lose your data, or you might lose your personal stuff as well, because IDOR, what we call it, indirect object reference vulnerabilities, can be the part of this as well. You're accessing the data without the permission of another user, or you are breaking the logic of the system. You are not hacking someone, but you are just breaking the sequence of data transmission. So, how do these vulnerabilities arise? Negligence. Simply, a developer can put a check on every protected thing, but if they are missing somewhere something, and they are not checking the session, or if they are not checking the uh, user roles, basically, so you are destroying your web application or the system application, and you are allowing someone to just change the name or just repeat the request without login or without user checking if that user is able to, or if that user should be viewing this or not. But if you are losing that, you might lose your data as well. What is the impact of the business logic flaws vulnerabilities? In my view, disaster. Why? uh, if you follow Hackerone or other bug bounty programs, the most highly paid vulnerabilities are of business logic flaw, where an attacker or researcher tries to inject their own logics, or they try to break the logic or the sequence of the logics. So they are most highly paid vulnerabilities. Just for the sake of the example, there was a boy who tried to bypass the OTP system mechanism of the Instagram, right? If you remember that, that's perfectly fine. If you don't, go and check that article as well. A boy tried to bypass the OTP in the Instagram portal, and he was able to bypass it perfectly. As per my knowledge, they paid him 20,000 US dollars. That's a big amount. They fixed that. He tried to do that again somewhere. and he bypassed that once again. So they paid him 15,000 US dollars again. So in total, 35,000 US dollars for a single vulnerability. That was a business logic flaw. So if your business logics are perfectly occupied, perfectly designed, no issues, not to worry about a thing from this side. But if there's a logic flaw in your web application, that might create a disaster for you. So what are the common vulnerabilities in business logic flaw? We call it BLF in short. Um, the most common vulnerabilities are, I'll just put it like that. We trust user. We trust user that they will follow the intended sequence. But nowadays everyone is smart, so we don't follow sequence, right? We want to check the application. We want to dig into the application as there are a thousand and multiple hundred of thousand developers, testers, QA testers, security consultants. They're in the market. They're in the boom. So they do their job seriously. So they do check the vulnerabilities in the web applications and as well. So you cannot just trust that user will follow the intended sequence. So this is the main trust factor. So you have to protect everything that comes in your way. Failing to handle unconventional input does come with the input validation thing. So you have to make a validation request for everything. So first of all, if you are a developer or you are owning a website, so just check the input validations on all input that are coming from the front end to the back end. So you can put a healthy whitelist check or the blacklist checklist in your web application, so you will be protected properly. So if you are trusting the client-side controls, please don't, because the client-side controls can be bypassed with a burp. You are very well aware of that. If you are not aware of the burp suite, just download it and play with it. You will be amazed how it will be changing your web application data from the front end. So user won't always supply mandatory input. For example, if I'm asking you the date of birth, so date of birth might contain hyphen or a slash for the special character list, but if someone is putting brackets, if someone is using dots or something else, so this is suspicious, right? So you have to see it as well, because you have to control the input validation from the front end, so it won't be going to the back end. All right, so moving forward, I would like to just share an example that I came across during my tenure for doing a penetration testing for a bank. So it was an Oracle system for financial fraud management, and I found that vulnerability. I disclosed that vulnerability to Oracle, and it was properly disclosed, and CVE number has been assigned to that as well in 2019. So that vulnerability was very simple. There were two users. One was a reporting user. He only can see the reporting, and one was the admin of the system, right? So the admin of the system can see the logs and all the other things as well. While on the other hand, the reporting system user was just able to see the report. So what I did, I just captured all the requests and the response from the verbs tool. So there were two people, if you can see on the left hand side, analyst EP and analyst MY. So I just manipulate and I change the request IDs and multiple parameters in the request. And when I try to follow the sequence and I try to break the sequence, how capturing the request from the admin users, all the requests, and playing with that with the normal user that was analyst, the reporting user. So by playing multiple times, I try to do that, and somehow I bypass the sequence, and I am able to see with the analyst, normal user, the reporting one that has low privilege in his bucket. So I try to just forward the request, and I can see all the logs and all the other things in my system. These are the new alerts that were dated, and analyst, we can see that analyst SC is able to see all the alerts. So these are the system alerts. He can use any kind of search, and he can see the logs and all the other things as well. So this is the main vulnerability of this complete program, that you can manipulate the user data from the front end, and the server responding you without verifying its user identity, that is that user is already logged in, or if that user is capable of viewing that screen, or if that is already assigned to that user. But without verifying, they are just displaying the data. So that was a vulnerability, a very critical vulnerability for the bank as well. Secondly, there was another application. I tried to just bypass it without any burp, without anything. That was the logic. I'll try to explain that. But that is a very, very um, common thing that we try to do while we do the test, and where this is very, very I'm might say interesting and funny on the same time. How there was a login, right? Username and password. We try to put the username and password, and the sequence says that it will be sending a OTP, just like any other banking application. Okay, so I check the sequence username and password. Then there's an OTP sent on my mobile number. I forward that PIN code to the application, and it logged in. So these are the sequence, right? Then I try to do one more thing. I try to just not put the original OTP. I try to make a request with a non-valid, invalid request to the OTP. So I tried to put the username and password correct. When it asks for the passcode, that is an OTP. Uh, I try to put 0000123456 a random or any random number that I like. So it says invalid passcode. And when we press OK, it redirect back to the username and password field, as you can see on the third image on the bottom one. B pentest one and the password something something. Now when I press the login, it doesn't check the OTP and it just opened my bank account. So the sequence is when you put the username and password and it asks for the OTP, you put the wrong OTP, it says invalid passcode. You just press OK, go back to the login screen, put the username and password once again, and it won't be asking you OTP again. Boom. So the check was check for the OTP once, but it was not checking the OTP every time I'm providing the username and password. So this was a very interesting and funny on the same time, very, very, very interesting for finding for us as well, because we were not expecting it. We were trying to just fire up our burp suite and all the other things to test the web application for this bypass, but somehow we never burn our burp suite either. So we just found it. So sometimes what happens, you find the vulnerabilities that are on your way, that are not that much hidden, but we neglect them because we think these are very, very low hanging fruits. But trust me, check everything, follow every sequence, and do anything you want to do with the application. You'd never know which thing will be exploited and which thing will be bypassed. So moving forward to another financial application, that was the internet banking system. I try to bypass the OTP here as well. How? I try to capture every request and response from the server to the machine and machine to the server, and I put it in a notepad, a sequence of the notepad. There were 20, 30 notepads, if I remember, tabs on the notepad plus plus. So I try to capture every request and the response, that how server is responding on every request I'm making to the server. So this is the key point. You have to keep everything with along with you. You never know which work and which will not work. So in this particular example, what we did, we try to put the username and password as always correct. It's then the OTP, right? So what we did, we checked the server response. We put the correct OTP. For example, there's a highlighted DNN text OTP underscore text 413342. You see the OTP, right? So this is an OTP. We put that and we observe that the server is sending the page redirect something something and home.aspx. So this is a valid credentials, valid OTP, and a valid response from the server. So what I did, I try to just copy it and save it in my file, so I can see how server is responding when I'm putting valid things. Then I try to change something in the next request in the response. What I did, I just put invalid OTP. So let's have a look at that as well. On the left hand side, the top extreme, you can see that I put the username and password and an OTP, incorrect OTP, by the way. So the response was provided OTP is incorrect. So server responding that the OTP that I put was incorrect, and it was not bypassing to the dashboard or the home screen. So what I did, remember, I just saved a valid response from the server in the previous request. I just copy and paste that request and the response in the burp suite and forwarded. and the server, without checking the user, it just observed that the session is valid. So it showed me the dashboard on the home screen. So I can see the home screen and the dashboard on the right hand side. So this is how I bypass this third application by just following and breaking the sequence and just copy and pasting. So the catch over here is, once again, copy every request and response you are making against a web application. You never know which one will work. So security design flaws. We all know that business logic flaw arises from the security design flaw because the logic are failed, the design is failed, so there is a business logic flaw. And where are we lacking? So you remember the example, previous example I did with the second application. I just bypassed the OTP by just putting wrong and going back and logging in. This particular image is from the Portsugar website, and it's showing the same thing. Attempt 1, user invalid. Attempt 2, password invalid. User and password invalid. Attempt 3, bypass. Boom, you are into the database or the machine or the system application anywhere you want to go. So we have to focus on the design flaws as well if we are talking about that. Methodologies to test your applications. See, in the first few slides, I say no static or the dynamic scanner can work for the business logic flaws. So how we gonna test it? How we do it? So there are few things that you can use with the Burp Suite. The first thing is Authmetric. There's a plugin available for the Burp Suite. You can download it, you can use it, and you can just repeat the workflow with the different user groups and the roles. I personally will give you the guide for that as well in the upcoming slide. But over here, I just would want to include a thought that whenever you are trying to test an application, just take 3 or 4 different roles user along with you and just check them vice versa across them as well. So what to look in source code? You just have to divide and model the workflow. That will help you a lot, because a smaller application will work. But if you're talking about the larger scale application, the ERP system, and these kind of things, so you have to divide and model your workflow to identify where controls were carried out and where they are not carried out, and how much access you need to give someone or how much access a specific group needs. So you have to be very particular what business rules process are doing, what this application is supposed to do. Basically, you have to gather all the information and understanding of the web any kind of application, that how it is working. Then you can secure it, right? So if you talk about the what you have to ask, if you are a developer, if you're a QA, if you're a security consultant, if you are a designer for the application, you are the architect of the application, you have to be very particular about these things. How, by what means you are getting the data, when, how often, for how long you are obtaining the data, or you are sending the data out, where to where, and from where the data is coming to where the data is going, and who is sending the data, for how much time the access will be granted, towards what, with what, whom, from whom, to whom, with whom, for whom, from where you are getting the data, you are processing the data, you are struggling the data in the database, storing it for the temporary purpose, then you are moving from the temp folder something, and if you're deleting from the temp, why and how they are being carried out. So there are thousand of questions that you can create, a thousand of questions you can ask to the business owner or the application owner or the infrastructure owner as well. So you have to ask a lot of things before going for a launch of the product. So thank you very much everyone for your time, and I'll see you in the next session in coming years. This is the thing that you have to focus, the business logic flaws. These are the main key components of your web application where you lack the most, because you secure the SQL injection, you secure the accesses, but you want to focusing on the logics of your web application or any kind of application. So thank you very much everyone for your time, and I'll see you around. Thank you. Bye.